giving a sizable crowd a chance to look over the competition, a chance for the crowd to wave them on their way and wish them Godspeed for 3 hours of competition, and of course a time for the drivers to catch their breath, take one more tug of the safety harness, and prepare for 3 hours of competition. Right now, what is going through a driver's head?
Well, what's going through a driver's head is checking the gauges out on the car to make sure the car has oil pressure, the water temperature hasn't come up too far. I don't see any drivers right now warming their tires up like we do at the Speedway to get the tire heat to where the car will handle as well as it could handle the way they've set it up. Other than that, they're just kind of anticipating the green flag and thinking about jumping the guy that's on the other side of him, trying to beat him to the first turn.
And of course, we'll settle into a rhythm after a few laps. It's nice to lead the first circuit, the first 5 or 10 circuits, but the big payday comes after 3 hours. And as Kenny St. John said last night during a practice session prior to a race last night, hey, I want to lead the last one.
Exactly, that's the one that counts. You can lead every one, but it's the last one that counts to make it under the checker flag and be the first one there.
Our starter, Carl Hall, is poised in position. He has the green flag in hand. And we're waiting now for the pace car to pull off. The pit gates will remain open throughout the entire course of the competition. And so Dick Chaffin should have plenty of activity down in the pit area this evening. The drivers returning the salute.
And the pace car has left the track.
The yellow flag still being displayed by Carl Hall. So perhaps one more lap.
And the starter is giving one more lap
before we go green. So the field now belongs to Kenny St. John in the M&M Automotive car number 18. Alongside is Jim Tunney in 73. The second row now comprised of Bill Frazier in car 5F and Chuck Hall, a two-time world champion, in car number 5. Row 3, Ray Bray and Bob Stute. This will be the last time that they'll have a chance to catch their breath. And although we can't see it on the television right now, a fireworks display overhead.
I hope some of the drivers out there didn't think that was their engines going off by any chance.
Now we'll watch for the front row to pick up the throttle as they work through that final turn before coming down that very short straightaway, anticipating the green.
And the starter has the green
throttle, and we are underway, and Kenny St. John gets a good jump. Jim Tunney takes second position. And Chuck Hall making a move on the inside, trying to apply the pressure to Tunney. It's a drag race down through the crossover. And on the outside, Chuck Hall, the two-time world champion, gets very close to that outside retaining wall. And that battle continues right now, and there's traffic already at the crossover on the very first lap. Chuck Hall has moved into second position. Jim Tunney falls to third. But right now, with some 5 car lengths out in front, Kenny St. John. And already we have traffic at the crossover as Kenny comes off the turn, gauges it, and safely makes it through again. A car spinning, coming off that fourth turn.
That's car number 17, Larry Harmon from Louisville, Kentucky. And he's had to stop at the intersection to wait for all the cars to get by there.
Well, looks like we'll have a battle shaping up momentarily for that number 1 position as they all once again safely make it through the crossover. And you know, I can recall Johnny Tillotson singing Poetry in Motion. Some people might call this insanity in motion, but these drivers seem to think they know exactly what's going on out there. They know exactly what the car can do, what they can do, and it's incredible how they go lap after lap with near misses, but they always make it through. You know, almost always.
You know, it's interesting. You have to know your car very well and know what kind of throttle response you're going to have off of that, because Kenny St. John here, he's had a few instances where he's just kind of lagged back a little bit and then stood on it. And if you don't know if the car's going to take off or not, you could be in trouble and be stuck in that intersection and be hit.
And right now, Kenny has lost that 5 car length lead, And Chuck Hall begins to apply the pressure. Kenny, a two-time Enduro champion. Chuck Hall, a two-time world champion. Chuck took his championships at Islip, New York. Jim Tunney, who was riding second for a while, has fallen off the pace just a bit in the Washington Auto Parts Car 73 Camaro. And right now we have a lead change. Chuck Hall, after pursuing car number 18 with Kenny St. John for a few laps, has taken the lead. And I suppose this racing is very much like yours, Tim, that you stay behind a driver for a few laps, psych him out, know exactly how he's taking each turn, and then set him up.
Exactly. These drivers, like Kenny St. John, he was out in the lead there for probably 3 or 4 laps. And Chuck Hall from Toledo, he just kind of waited for his right spot, and he took the spot, made the move, and now he's leading the race. It's interesting that just a little while ago, Bobby Elliott from Indianapolis was running third, and he had started all the way down in the 20th starting position. But now in the third spot, it's Bob Stute from Dearborn Heights, Michigan.
I cannot imagine what the body must feel like after 3 hours of this competition on a very tight course like this, where, as we've said before, there is no time to rest. There is no time to regain the composure. Every 10 seconds, a driver is going through the crossover.
I tell you, it's amazing to me. I've never seen one in person like this, but it takes a driver to be able to do this.
And now there's a lap car in between your two leaders as Chuck Hall continues to dominate in his car number 5. Chuck from Toledo, Ohio. And Kenny St. John continues to ride in second, driving car number 18. Bob Stute, as you mentioned earlier, is riding in the third position right now. He's driving car 54. And then behind Bob is Jim Tunney in car 73. As they pull off the fourth turn and head for the crossover, Kenny St. John begins to close in just a bit on Chuck Hall. And it's very difficult to keep track of the laps, let alone the time. The scoreboard, however, is keeping the fans posted. We've gone now 4 minutes and 45 seconds, and we have the first near miss. And that was Kenny St. John. So as you can see, Tim, very quickly, he loses about a third of a lap on your leader. And our first miss, our near miss, car number 17, Larry Harmon, the driver that took the spin coming off the fourth turn earlier, just did get kissed in the crossover. He has a flat left rear. So Harmon heads for the pit area, and here is the first time this evening we'll see a car going in for repairs. We'll see another car coming back out to replace him to maintain that 24-car field. Almost have a trouble brewing coming off that fourth turn. Your leader continues to be Chuck Hall in car number 5. And now Kenny St. John is trying to run him down in car number 18. As Kenny said last night, it was not that imperative to lead early or even lead through the middle stages of the race, but to keep that leader in sight. That's what he's trying to do right now. He lost some ground on that crossover maneuver earlier when he got in very heavy traffic. And right now, he's trying to close in on the leader. They have 2 lap cars between Chuck Hall and Kenny St. John.
Now he only has 3 cars between him and Chuck Hall and the number 5 car from Toledo.
The car that came out when Harmon went into the pits car number 20, Bill Horn from Indianapolis, driving a yellow and white Camaro. So we still have 24 cars running. Now with that flat left rear, we should see Harmon back on the racetrack, and that would take it up to 25 cars. So the going gets very interesting and very congested. And now Kenny St. John has moved to within a car length, or maybe two, of the leader. Chuck Hall, at 7 minutes 18 seconds into this race, goes wide of the crossover to miss the traffic, and right behind him is Kenny St. John, and St. John making a move on the inside. It'll be a drag race through the crossover this time. And once again, they safely make it through. I would think, Tim, it would be very easy to concentrate on the battle with the car right in front of you and forget about the crossover. We have a problem situation first right down here in front of the flagman stand. Two cars are together. This is the situation where the yellow flag is displayed, but no harm and no red, and both cars are able to continue on.
It's not always the case, I wouldn't think, in this type of racing, that if you were in the second spot following the lead car, to follow whatever move he made and make that move like him, because they're cutting it so close here that perhaps the guy in the lead could just miss it by just a few inches, the guy that he's going through the crossover with, and the guy behind him, such as Kenny St. John right now, could be hit by that car. So you have to watch him in front of you and in back, and coming from the side of you. And Kenny St. John is kind of locked up.
Rooted just a bit through the turn.
They had locked bumpers there at number 4, Bobby Elliott, and Kenny St. John had locked bumpers there for just an instant, but they've gotten apart now.
And Jim Tunney has taken over second position in car 73. Jim had been running well up in front, then backed off the pace just a bit. Perhaps found something under the hood, some other adjustment that he might be able to make from the cockpit. And now he's back on the lead pace. And there are 3 cars now separating your leader as he heads for the crossover. Chuck Hall safely through again. And second place in car 73 is Jim Tunney.
You have to have very good peripheral vision in this type of racing, believe me.
And then in third is car 54. So Kenny St. John has dropped to 4th position. Bob Stute has moved to 3rd now in car 54. And he is challenging for the number 2 position and has it. So Bob Stute, we're losing some parts. We see a tire rolling through the crossover. A car has lost the
and that car
right
there
rear, and he's continuing on, trying to make it back to the pit area.
And the tire is still rolling out in the middle of the track.
Joe Jackson in car number 1X. The yellow flag is out. The tire continues to roll, and Joe is able to make it into the pit area. And we'll see a new car out here. That's why we say that all 60 cars that have times turned in from qualifications this afternoon should see some action this evening. Car 17X is back on the track from the pit area. That's George Sutton. He was in for some repairs, and he's back in the fray. And right now we have completed 10.5 minutes of a 3-hour competition.
I'm just getting tired watching them up here.
The concentration factor, we've harped on this before, but the concentration factor is just incredible for 3 hours, because the only time they will stop this event is in the event that the crossover is blocked because of an accident, perhaps one of the turns is blocked because of an altercation. Then the drivers will have a chance to even hop out of the car, but take some time to clear the track and take a good deep breath of fresh air, get something to drink, and then go back to racing. But I think it was last year we went something like 250 laps without a red.
I tell you, that is some endurance. They're in a turn half the time here on this racetrack, and these stock cars not being that light, or these cars that they've run here, they're probably 3,600 pounds, and it does take quite a bit of muscle to be able to get these routes around the track.
Chuck Hall continues to dominate. He started outside the second row, and was content to pace himself for the first few minutes of the race and ran behind the new track record holder Kenny St. John. Then he decided to take control and race his own pace. Gets very close to the wall. In fact, he got pinched that time. Dave Vasey almost put your leader into the fence coming through the third turn. He's still trying to get by Vasey, driving that green 69. So apparently we have a few drivers out here that do not subscribe to the superstition that green is unlucky in race cars.
I don't know what's wrong with it.
Are you superstitious?
Very much so.
The money is green.
Well, that's natural. Grass is natural, trees are natural, but you can buy paint in many different colors. You don't have to buy it in green.
So your leader continues to be car number 5, working turn 3. Actually one sweeping turn into 4 and back heading for the crossover. Second now, Bob Stute in car 54. And Bob is about one turn back. And he has just passed for second position by Kenny St. John. So St. John moves back up into the hunt, now rides in second position. And Kenny is now about a turn and a half behind your leader. Kenny now having some trouble negotiating that crossover in that black and yellow car 18, and right behind is Bob Stute. Jim Tunney is riding in fourth in car 73. We have gone 13 and a half minutes. And now Stute moves into second position as we had some trouble negotiating the turn on the part of Kenny St. John. He lost a position. This is almost like a controlled demolition derby, only they're not banging quite that much.
I'm sure if there's no drivers out there that have any grudges against each other.
Of course, these cars have the standard stock car safety precautions inside. We say stock, and that is a misnomer because we have the full roll cage, the side inside door bars. Driving uniforms are not mandatory out here, Tim, and I am surprised to see a number of drivers racing in blue jeans and t-shirts, because anytime there is a threat of fire, and many of these guys are not driving with fuel cells, one would think would be wise to run with a Nomex uniform.
I tell you, if I was driving in this race, I'd definitely have the full fire equipment, fireproof gear on, helmets, Nomex hood, socks, everything. Because these cars, maybe they don't look like they're going that fast, but I tell you, they can take a good impact here and split even a fuel cell. I'm sure they can split here, let alone if they didn't have one.
With good torque coming off the turn, they're hitting the crossover at 50, 55 miles per hour, so it is possible to tear up some equipment should contact be made in the crossover. Another car coming out of the pit area. Car number 10, and we're looking for the alternate lineup for car number 10, and we don't see. Somebody has been able to sneak in on us.
Maybe he just drove it in off the street and put some shoe polish on it there with the number 10.
Never know. Once again, as the race continues now past the 15-minute mark, almost 16 minutes into the race, and your leader continues to be Chuck Hall in car number 5, a two-time world figure 8 champion, hails from Toledo, Ohio. He won the world championships at Islip Speedway. Second is Kenny St. John, and two cars get together in the intersection, and we see some fuel. We were just speaking of the safety, and we saw some liquid splash up from the back of that car, so it would appear to be fuel. And there again, that is the car number 10, Cecil Carr. Cecil Carr went into the pit area, and the red flag is being displayed. The red flag, and watch for the scramble now as the cars head for the pit area. This is our first red. We have 16 minutes, 32 seconds. complete of the 3-hour National Figure 8 Enduro here at the Speedrome on the far east side of Indianapolis. And as the red flag is displayed because of the contact made with Cecil Carr in car number 10 in the crossover, there's a scramble of activity as the cars head for the pit area.
If a fan didn't know any better, he would think the race was over right now.
I think we might have a chance to recap the top 6 now. Once again, your leader in car number 5 is Chuck Hall, starting outside the second row. He was content to follow the leader and pole sitter Kenny St. John for a long time, and then took the lead and has led for about 12 or 13 minutes of the 16.5 minutes we have completed. In the second position, car number 18 is Kenny St. John. Third in car 5 is Ray Bray, and fourth in car 73 is Jim Tunney. We'll be back with more of the National Figure 8 Enduro after these messages. Action about to resume here at the Indianapolis Speedrome. We have gone 16.5 minutes into this 3-hour Enduro. And this is not necessarily as they are running in the order, only on the track. Your leader, once again, in car number 5 is Chuck Hall. You see right now in car number 20, Bill Horn along the outside. However, he is running a lap down. Green flag is flying. We are racing again.
Whoa.
And 2 cars get together, Ray Bray and Jim Tunney. And they had been running in the top 10, and they get together. The yellow flag is out. Jim Fox, the winner here 3 years ago, also involved in car number 1. That's that black Camaro. And the yellow is out, but that simply means there is something on the track. The racing continues. And your leader is Chuck Hall in car number 5 from Toledo, Ohio, a 41-year-old veteran driving a 1974 Camaro. He won the 1976 and 79 World Figure 8 Championships in Islip, New York. He's also the Flat Rock track champion. He drives a 6-cylinder Camaro. That's something I wanted to point out earlier. Tim, we were talking about power, horsepower coming off the turn, and how important it is to have that extra horsepower heading for the crossover. But your leader is driving a 6-banger.
Well, the reason he might be using that, Gary, is that with a 6-banger, he might have the bottom end torque or horsepower that you might need on a short track like this to be able to get through the crossover when you stand on it. So that's maybe why he's using a 6-cylinder compared to an 8-cylinder.
He led this particular race back in 1977 for 154 laps and finished 9th for his best finish in this event. Chuck Hall from Toledo, Ohio, out in front in car number 5. But there's a good battle shaping up for the lead as we have your 2 leaders running nose to tail on the racetrack, literally nose to tail as they bump going through turn 1. Chuck Hall in number 5, Kenny St. John in number 18. St. John is a 35-year-old veteran from here in Indianapolis, driving a 1976 Camaro. He's the only 2-time winner of this event. In fact, he's won the last 2 outings. He won the Speedrome Pro Stock Championship for the 2nd straight time during the 1980 racing season, and completely dominated the 1980 Outlaw season here at the Speedrome with 7 50-lap Figure 8 feature wins and 4 Outlaw Oval 50-lap features.
No wonder they make so much money.
And again, this Kenny St. John lives in Beach Grove, which is really a stone's throw from the racetrack here, maybe 5 to 8 minutes from the track, so he doesn't have to travel too far from home to have a good time and make some pocket money.
He's doing a good job right now. He's in second.
$16,000 per year is not just pocket money.
No, sir. He's trying to overhaul Chuck Hall right now for the number 1 position.
Ray Bray, who's been running in the top 5 in car number 5, is now in the pit area with a tie rod being repaired. So the pit crew in action down there. left. So Bray, who was tangled up down just below our vantage point here in the first turn, is in the pit area for some service. The car parked along the, what we would normally call the backstretch of the oval, is car number 6. That, I believe, is Al Spears, who was not one of our fastest. 24, but was able to make it into the event as others dropped out. Here's a good shot as they cross the crossover and head for what would be the pit gate to make a sharp left-hand turn into turn number 1. And that is the view that we have for the officials that are standing just alongside that pit entrance. Right now, 20 minutes and 59 seconds into the race. Now 21 minutes into what is a 3-hour enduro, and the weatherman is providing us with perhaps his best. We have a pleasant, easy evening in Indianapolis. We've had a hot day, but right now the fans can enjoy some very mild temperatures and some very hot racing.
I'm sure the drivers would like it maybe to be a little cooler for them, because I'm sure they're sweating a little bit out there.
In open cockpit competition, Tim, you have the advantage of the wind really whistling through the cockpit. Here, the drivers utilizing the windshields, and the temperatures begin to climb, and it's very uncomfortable.
Well, some of these drivers out here, they're not using windshields per se. Some of them are, but the ones that don't have the windshields in their cars, I'm sure maybe be getting a little hotter than the guys without them.
Your two leaders continue to work through heavy traffic right now. Chuck Hall in number 5 heading into turn 1, and right behind is Kenny St. John in 18. Incidentally, the crew is to be commended on car number 18. Kenny was out here last night for an outlaw competition and cracked the head. The crew went back home last night, worked all night to replace the head. He came back out today, set quick time with a new track record, and started inside the front row. So as you well know, Tim, in your racing career, so much of the credit has to go to the guys behind the scenes manning the wrenches.
Exactly. It's not, it's sorry to say, but the driver does get a lot of the glory, but I tell you, if it wasn't for the crew, the car owners, and the people like that, the driver couldn't be out there trying to get the job done like Chuck Hall and Kenny St. John is doing right now.
Directly in front of your leader is Ray Bray, who lost a number of laps in the pit area for engine repairs. He's back on the race course now. And a car directly in front of your leader, a black Camaro. Car number 1 is driven by Jim Fox. He was the winner here in 1977. On that particular day, the weatherman was less than cooperative. We had very, very cold temperatures. We had a light drizzle, and the race was halted short of the 3 hours because of the weather. And of course, at this point now, at this juncture in the race, strategy once again comes to play. Is it really necessary to lead the race and set the pace at only 23 minutes into a 3-hour contest?
Well, I would, if I was in one of these cars, I would be wanting to lead the race, and just for the fact that if, in case I got a fairly large lead on the second place man, you can back off and maybe take it a little easier, maybe through the intersection, instead of really timing it just right, getting through there just under the wire. Maybe back off and be able to get through with plenty of room to spare. But as it is right now, Kenny St. John has got by Chuck Hall in the number 5 car, and neither one of them wanting to give up. So I'm sure they're going to take a few chances going through that intersection.
As we approach 25 minutes into the competition, your leader is still Chuck Hall, number 5. Second, well, it's correct that now as Kenny St. John slides by on the inside and grabs the lead. So Kenny St. John decides he'll lead for a while. Chuck Hall has dropped to second. Third now is Bill Simmons in car 771. That is a red and white Camaro. Actually a Firebird, using the same chassis, same engine, but a Fireburst on the front of that car.
And Chuck Hall has got Kenny St. John back for the #1 spot.
There's some good dicing at what we would call the front of the pack, and Chuck Hall runs up behind another car and bumps him out of the way. Running down again the top 5, Bill Simmons in that number 771 Firebird. That is a red and white car. Jim Tunney is now 4th in car 73, and 5th is Wayne Arnold in car 6. So we'll keep an eye for those particular 5 right now. Arnold has moved around Tunney for 3rd position. Make that 4th position, and Tunney drops to 5th. And we have to give due credit to the scores in this event, because this must be a headache. Who was our 3rd fastest qualifier this afternoon in car 5F. Once again, we start 24. However, during 5 hours of time trials in the afternoon, these guys clock what they possibly can. If they're not happy with their time, they simply go back out and try it again. And so the cars that qualified 25th through 60th will likely have a shot at racing sometime during the racing program. And now, as we speak, we can see the pit entrance is open with little activity, and a couple of cars waiting to go out at the pit exit as soon as someone has to pull in for repairs. Cecil car in car number 10 is the car that just pulled in from the pit exit, and he pulls to a stop, perhaps waiting for the crossover to clear.
It looks like Kenny St. John is taking quite a lead now. Chuck Hall in the number 5 car is dropping off the pace. Either that or Kenny St. John is staying on the gas a little bit harder.
Kenny's also having a good dice right now with Ray Bray. Both of these are ASA late model stock cars that they race on various half-mile tracks around the Midwest. And Ray is probably 3 to 5 or 6 laps down, because he was in the pit area for some time for repairs. But right now he is staying right with the leader, Ray Bray, in car number 5, the old track record holder before qualifications today, when Kenny St. John set the new track record. Tunney, who has been running up in the top 5, has stopped right at the crossover in that blue and gold Camaro number 73. 2 cars get together approaching the crossover. There's Jim Tunney in car 73. A car pulls up behind him. A show of sportsmanship, as Tunney apparently wants to head for the pit area for some repairs. Lost the fire, and he gets a helping hand from his son, Bill Tunney. So there's the father-son combination right there, as Jim is being pushed to the pit area by son Bill. Perhaps not so much a show of sportsmanship as whether I want to talk with Dad or have Dad talk to me tonight when I get home.
Exactly.
Car number 11T running slowly now, and just out of the pit area, Junior Shirley from Anderson, Indiana, is back in the race. We have had occasion in the past to actually change an engine during the running of this race. We were talking with Kenny St. John last evening, and I said, Kenny, what are you prepared to do in the pit area? He said, everything but change an engine. We're not doing that again. Father into the pit area for necessary repairs. We see car 57 back on the racetrack, parked there by the crossover. That is Bill Tunney, and Bill almost gets nailed as he crossed the intersection. this is real grassroots racing. These guys are not making, for the most part, a lot of money. They're into it, Tim, because they enjoy it. Most of the guys do not have a well-paid pit crew. They do very much of their own work. They work the regular hour, 8 to 10 hours a day, and come home and play with the race car and go racing on the weekend. And it really takes this type of racing as a training ground for the drivers that like to move on up into late model stock cars with NASCAR, late model sportsmen. And although I think you'll find most of these drivers are very content to be racing what they are right now and have very few aspirations to move on up. We talked earlier about Jim Tunney stopping for some purpose, and I understand he is now being serviced in the pit area. Let's go to Dick Chaffin and see what's going on down in the pits.
Okay, I just talked to Jim Tunney's pit crew, car number 73, and they said that he has a right front broken shock. Now, they don't estimate that it'll be out very long at all. They said they will repair it in little or no time. So you can look forward to seeing Jim Tunney, car number 73, back on the track in just a few minutes. Now back to Gary and Tim in the booth.
Thank you, Dick. We'll keep him busy this afternoon running back and forth. Incidentally, Jim Tunney finished second in this race 1 year ago. There's also a lot of pride at stake here because we have the local hot shoes, as we call them in racing. And we have a number of drivers coming in from out of town, from out of state. And they, of course, like to make the hot shoes look bad. So some pride on the line this evening.
Well, it's just like anything else. You know, there's competition out here, and I've never met a good loser, and I hope I never do. So I'm sure every one of these guys out here are wanting to win this race, and they're doing their darndest to be able to go out and stand on the gas, and be able to drive maybe just a little bit faster than the next guy.
Right now we understand that Tunney's pit crew is fashioning a makeshift throttle linkage by bending a coat hanger.
Well, I hope if he comes back out, it works for him, and if it does stick, I hope it sticks in the closed position.
We have been keeping an eye on Wayne Arnold in car number 6. He has moved now to second position, and he is some 5 to 7 car lengths behind your leader as your leader makes it through the crossover. Moving in second place is Wayne Arnold. Wayne is the son of Billy Arnold. For race fans around central Indiana, Billy Arnold is a name that has been synonymous with figure 8 racing for probably 20 years here at this particular track. He brought his son up, and one of the toughest drivers on the figure 8 is Wayne Arnold. And right now, he's running in second position in car number 6. Trying to make it through some back markers now to catch up to Kenny St. John. They have 2 slower cars in between their positions. And your leader is directly behind Ray Bray as they work the crossover in a pair of late model Camaros with the big spoiler on the rear, and I seriously doubt if the spoiler helps on this particular racetrack.
Well, if it does, Gary, it won't be helping too much because they're not really getting the speed up like they would on a half-mile track.
In championship competition, you utilize the mirror, but in the sprint cars, the midgets, you go without the mirrors. Would it be an asset to have the rear view in this type of competition?
Well, I think it would, Gary, because like I said before, if you can get out in the lead and have a fairly substantial lead over the second place man, you can use that mirror to look back and see if he's gaining on you or not. And if he's not gaining on you, be able to take your time and slow down and, like I said, maybe not cut it so close at the intersection to where you might be able to bumper fender or something like that.
Of course, in the case of your leader right now, it would do no good at all because that spoiler is so high it's actually above the rear deck, probably about 6 inches above the roof line.
Well, it looks like it might be plexiglass, and you can maybe see through it a little bit, but I wouldn't think you can see through it too much. Plus, it has some type of lettering on it. One of their sponsors on the car is on that spoiler right now.
And And of course, we can't say enough about sponsors, because in any type of racing, it is expensive, and the sponsors help pay the freight.
You're darn right. Without them, a lot of racers couldn't be able to make it.
Chuck Hall, who led for so many of the early laps, had to retire to the pit area to change a left front tire. So we'll be watching for his return momentarily. And there is your leader, pulling up behind slower cars right now. Kenny St. John negotiates the crossover one more time, and moving in to make a run on Kenny. Right there is Wayne Arnold. They are side by side behind Ray Bray off the second turn. A drag race through the crossover. Now the inside track belongs to Kenny St. John, and they've got a pileup directly in front of them. As they make it by, the yellow comes out. But that simply means, once again, Tim, there's something on the track. Be careful.
Well, they've got a tire laying down here between turns 3 and 4, and that could be a problem for drivers going into that turn that can't see beyond them. And one car just has knocked it out of the way, so it looks like it won't be a factor now.
Bill Fry was the driver that lost the tire in car 49. So once again, your leaders are running, as we say, nose to tail as they pull up right behind Ray Bray again. Bray is running just as quickly as is your leader, but Ray is a number of laps down right now because of some mechanical woes. He went to the pit area and lost several laps in the pits. But right now, they could almost use Ray Bray as the snowplow.
Or as a guide or something like that.
As they work through the crossover. I would think there would be some feeling of security having another car directly in front of you as you work through that crossover.
Well, it sort of impairs your vision, I would think, Gary, that before, when you go through the intersection, that, you know, if you didn't have anybody in front of you, you could see what's coming from the other side.
We see something hanging off the right rear of Wayne Arnold's car number 6. Apparently nothing that important as he continues to set sail for Kenny St. John. As we mentioned earlier, Chuck Hall led for a number of laps early. He is in the pits. Let's go to Dick and pick up on the action down there.
I just talked to Chuck Hall's pit crew, and apparently he has a broken radiator. Now, they're feverishly working on it, so I'm assuming he's not going to be out very long. But at this pace, he could lose some valuable time to the front runners like Kenny St. John. But there is a broken radiator in the car of Chuck Hall. You can expect to see him back like on the racing circus very, very soon. Now back up to Gary and Tim in the booth.
Dick, just as you say that, we see Chuck pull out of the pit area, and he's back in the fray. So our first report of a flat tire turned out to be more serious with the radiator, but he is back in the race. So once again, Tim, the pit crews must be prepared for virtually anything, because in the course of 3 hours, anything could happen.
That's for sure. Just like Ray Bray, I think he broke a ball joint or something like that on the front suspension of the car. Chuck Hall just broke a radiator, so you've got to be able to change and be able to do anything you want to back in the pits, as long as it's not actually rebuild or build a brand new car for him.
Bruce McFall in car 93 having some trouble negotiating turns 1 and 2 as he rode the wall around the track. And there once again is your battle for the lead. Now, by virtue of putting about 3 lap cars between his position and that of second place Wayne Arnold, Kenny St. John has found himself some racing room. But as we've seen so often this evening, with an excellent shot. I love that shot as they come down toward the pit area. Once again, they're hitting the crossover, doing about 55. And that can smart when one gets tagged at 55.
You can literally have what they call a T-bone here, without a doubt.
Well, we see that Jim Tunney is back on the track in car 73 after the repairs made to that car. He was pushed off earlier by his son, Bill. As your leader, car number 18, Kenny St. John, works into turn 2. Off that turn and heads down once again for the crossover. Second is Wayne Arnold in car number 6. Bill Simmons running in third in car 771. One of the few Firebirds in competition this evening, a red and white car number 771. And Bill was a veteran of the last 2 Enduros, won by Kenny St. John. One would think it would be very difficult to know exactly who's in second, third, and fourth when you cross the intersection, to know exactly who you're racing against and where they are on the race course.
Well, I'm sure at the start of the race they can tell, but as you get along an hour or so or 2 hours into this race, I'm sure it's going to be very difficult for anybody to be able to tell, unless you're the leader, to where you're at in the race.
Slower cars between your leader as he works into turn. And Jim Tunney just got nailed at the crossover. This could prompt a red. Let's watch for Carl Hall. He has the yellow out. Ray Gaddis is the driver involved as he came in and bumped Jim Tunney. Tunney was able to continue. The yellow remains out, and Gaddis is able to pull that car away, and we have a clear intersection once again. And now we have a new leader. Wayne Arnold had just moved by Kenny St. John and takes over first position. So Wayne Arnold in car number 6 now has about 5 car lengths over Kenny St. John as they head for and through the crossover. So there we saw an example of what can happen when the leader gets caught at the crossover. The guy in second has a good, clean shot. I think we've got a slow-mo coming up of that pass once again. Kenny St. John and Wayne Arnold. Right now, let's take a look at that accident first involving Jim Tunney. Tunney is parked there at the intersection, and Ray Gaddis comes from behind, tries to avoid him, can't get the job done, and both cars end up parked right there at the crossover. However, both cars were able to continue. Let's back it up and we'll see it again. Gaddis had a car to his right, Tim, and had really no place to go, tried to avoid the crash and simply caught the right rear, and Jim Tunney took a good shot.
Well, it looked as if he had been committed to the left side of that car, and all of a sudden seen other cars starting to come through the intersection, and made a move to maybe correct it, and didn't make it soon enough.
And in this type of racing, committing oneself through the crossover can be disastrous.
If you commit yourself, you better take it, and hopefully it will be right.
And here again, the drivers like to impress upon the fans that the throttle can be more of a friend in this type of competition than the brake. I think motorists in general have a tendency to climb on the binders, as we say, in a tight situation, when in fact the throttle can be more of an asset.
Exactly here, because when you come to this intersection, if you've got the right timing down and can stand on the throttle and get through there, you're definitely better up. But if you come up to that intersection and stop, that breaks your momentum, and you have to wait. You have to wait, no telling how long before the cars get by. For say, if he's coming up to the intersection, you had a little bit more of a space and was rolling, you could get through there a lot quicker.
Just a moment ago, we had a chance to see the crew of Cecil Carr. There he is, Cecil Carr being pushed through the pit area. And here we have Kenny St. John in car number 18, and he's right behind your leader. So the lead cars are running right now, right together on the race course as they're working on lap 124. And we have now gone almost 46 minutes of the 3-hour competition. And they have heavy traffic in front of them, and perhaps St. John is looking for the traffic to make a move to get by Wayne Arnold. They have Ray Bray back out in front.
And Ray seems to be smoking or losing some type of substance out of the back of his car, so that might give him a little dice back there in the back to be able to handle whatever's coming out of the back of that car, whether it be fuel or oil or whatever it might be. And there he goes into the pits.
Bill Simmons, and oh, look out, Bill's going to hit the wall. No, he hops on the binders and just did avoid hitting the wall at what would be the start-finish line on the oval. He had been dicing with Kenny St. John and simply made a maneuver through the crossover that got him, as we would say, all bent out of shape.
He did a good job of saving it and not hitting the wall.
Your lead car, car number 6, Wayne Arnold, is your leader, and right behind him in second is Kenny St. John as they negotiate through the crossover and into turn 3. Heavy traffic. Back to the crossover, and it is still Wayne Arnold. And Kenny St. John right now apparently happy to keep that steady pace, keep Wayne in view, and let him be the first of the crossover. Bill Simmons in car 771 had been dicing with Kenny St. John for second position when he took his excursion through the crossover and headed for the wall. And here it is in slow motion. You can see what happens in the intersection when he takes evasive action, gets back on the throttle, then hops on the binders to stop that car as he headed for the wall head on. How many beats does the heart skip when that happens?
Quite a few, to tell you the truth. We've got a car up here in turn 1. I can't see what number it is. It looks like he's hit the...
Looks like 37, Bob Bells, out of Mount Clemens, Michigan. And that is a Vega.
How'd you see that?
I watched them practice.
Oh. It looks like they're going to leave him there and just bring out the yellow so they can keep going around him or going by him.
Looks like he may need a tow truck on the next red.
Yeah, I don't believe he's going to be able to drive her back to the pits. It looks like the left front of the car has been
Bob is the only out-of-town driver to compete in all 3 of the previous national enduros. Once again, a green car.
Well, serves him right.
Don't like the green, do you, Tim?
No, I can't really say I do.
Tim Richmond providing the color this evening, the rookie of the year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway after finishing 9th. And now we have the red. The red flag has been displayed at 49 minutes, 3 seconds. We have completed 132 circuits. Wayne Arnold continues to lead in second. In car number 18, the driver that set the new track record during qualifications this afternoon, Kenny St. John. So the 3-hour enduro is now 49 minutes, 3 seconds old. And there's a shot as the cars pull off the track and head back to the pit area. So as they regroup in the pit area, we clean the track. We'll take a break and be back with more action momentarily. now, after completing 49 minutes, 3 seconds, Gary Lee and Tim Richmond back prepared for a restart after a red to clean debris off the race course. About to commence racing on lap 133, and your leader will be Wayne Arnold in car number 6. Second, Kenny St. John in car 18. And third is Bill Simmons in car 771. So we'll have at least one more lap before we go green. We'll be checking with Dick Chaffin in the pit area momentarily. Once again, Tim, we're working on just under 50 minutes of a 3-hour race, so plenty of racing time.
Well, we've got, like you say, almost 2 hours to go, and the green is out. And Wayne Arnold in the number 6 car has the lead. In hot pursuit of him is Kenny St. John from Indianapolis in the 18 car.
Wayne is a 33-year-old Indianapolis chauffeur driving a 1968 Camaro. He was the Speedrome Pro Stock runner-up in the closest championship race for that division this season. He won 3 50-lap Pro Stock figure 8 features. And as we mentioned earlier, he is the son of Billy Arnold, who is really a legend out here in figure 8 racing. He's been racing figure 8s for some 20 years out here at this East Side Indianapolis Oval. Running on down, we mentioned the top 3. In 4th position, Bob Stute in car 54. And 86, Donnie Utterback takes a hit at the crossover, slides out of position, drops her back in drive, and takes off again.
Looks like he's lengthened his car out there just a little bit, Gary.
Well, we won't have a tech inspection right now, so that won't matter. Running down once again, the top 5 in 5th position. In car number 1 is Jim Fox, the winner here in 1977. Donnie Utterback, who we just saw take that loop through the crossover, had been running in 6th position. Dave Miller in car 51 was 7th. Bob Bells was 8th in car 37, but he's now in the pit area, leaving the track on a hook, which did not look good. Bill Frazier 9th in car 57, and Chuck Hall was 10th in car number 5. So despite the fact that Chuck Hall might be some 20 laps off the pace, as we've seen before, anything can happen. Some major problem could occur with the lead car, and the car that's 15 or 20 laps back could make that time up very quickly on a short track. One of the drivers that had been up in front early, then suffered mechanical woes, was Ray Bray. Dick Chaffin is standing by to update that situation.
Well, Gary and Tim, we have some bad news from the pit area. We have our first major ousting of the night. Ray Bray is out of the race with a wrecked rear end. Ray Bray will see no more action as far as the racing goes tonight. So that's some tough luck for Ray, and I'm sure he'll be back later on. So Ray Bray is out of tonight's contest. Now back to Gary and Tim in the booth.
Tim, Ray was driving that cream-colored number 5 that had been racing for so many laps directly in front of the leader.
Well, he looked, he was one of the more sophisticated race cars out here. I believe him, along with Kenny St. John, had one of the cars that run the ASA stock car circuit. And as it appeared just before the red came out earlier, that he had either blown an engine or something to that effect. But I guess it was the rear end, like they said. Like, I don't know what could have went wrong. I didn't see him getting any kind of accident or anything to break or bend the rear end. So possibly just a quick change gears, or the ring and pinion might have let go on the car.
And again, when we talk about ASA specifications, we're talking about a more expensive race car. Many of these race cars, I'm sure, are put together for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. Some of the ASA cars that run the late model circuit around the Midwest, we're talking investing $20,000, $25,000, sometimes $30,000 in a race car, and that is a lot of money to be racing out here in the figure 8.
That's for sure. On a regular race, you would just go around in a circle, and maybe it looks like Wayne Arnold there in the number 6 car had a little problem.
He got nerfed, as we say, just a bit over there in
just a little nerve.
The third turn. Just a kiss, really. Once again, Wayne continues to lead, and he pulls right up behind Jim Fox in car number 1. Fox was the victor here in 1977 in a rain-shortened affair. And riding second is still Kenny St. John in car number 18. Let's take a look once again at the third turn when your leader, Wayne Arnold, as we said, got nerfed just a bit coming off the straightaway and going into the turn. Wayne Arnold driving car number 6, and here he comes. Getting tapped in the left rear and easily could have spun around there.
Very easily. It looked like both back tires on the back end of that car were off the ground when he got nerfed.
What do you call that when a fellow race driver bumps you in the rear end?
What do I call it?
I don't want to know what you say to him immediately, but I want to know what you call it.
Well,
do you talk to yourself in a race car? Or the other drivers?
Not too often, I don't. At least not in the championship cars. Maybe in a sprint car or a super modified or a midget, you might say something. I do a lot of talking to the race car. Come on, Betsy, or come on, whatever. You know, you can do it and I can do it, so let's go do it. Beat everybody else.
I had occasion one time to put a microphone inside my helmet during a go-kart race, thinking that I could use that for radio purposes later. But after listening to the tape, I realized I couldn't use it.
What'd you say?
Well, we won't pass that along, but I talked to myself and the other drivers and the go-kart and the fans and the flagmen and the officials.
That's why you couldn't use it.
That's right. Wayne Arnold, during the red light situation earlier, was interviewed by the track announcer. And of course, the question was, Wayne, how's it going? And he said, just fine. It always goes well when you're out in front.
That's for sure. But he's getting a little pressure right now from Kenny St. John in the number 18 car.
And they're running really nose to tail as they work off the fourth turn and head for the crossover. There's your leader, Wayne Arnold, and directly behind him in car number 18 is Kenny St. John. And the leaders are coming up on the third place car right now. Bill Simmons in car 771. And we're trying to check right now to see if Simmons is on the same lap with the leaders. He's had a few excursions through the what we would call the infield, although with a figure-8 course, I'm not sure what we call it. Simmons in the Firebird, car 771. And right now, directly behind him and going by and off the corner, Simmons slows down. We've got two cars together in the crossover, two cars bumping door handles as they work through the turn. This is mayhem.
Yeah, that's for sure. And Wayne Arnold has lost the lead to Kenny St. John.
So St. John, the 35-year-old hot shoe from Indianapolis, a two-time winner of this 3-hour enduro here at the Speedrome, currently is your leader. We've worked now 56 minutes, 17 seconds, so quickly approaching the first hour, the first third of this competition. There's your leader in 18T with the big rear spoiler off the rear deck. Kenny St. John setting a new qualifying record at 19.189 miles per hour, eclipsing the old track record, which was set here last year by Ray Bray, who has since expired from the competition. So once again, these drivers turning this track at about 20 or 21 seconds, and they're crossing that intersection once every 10 seconds. Your leader had some trouble negotiating the crossover and lost almost a half lap to Wayne Arnold. So traffic came into play there as Kenny St. John realized he had no place to go, and he took a little loop right down here in the infield area, and of course had to bring the car back on the racing surface where he left for fear of losing one full lap to the leader. So right now Wayne Arnold is back out in front, and Kenny St. John is just about a half lap back in second position. Third is still Bill Simmons in car 771, and Bill is at least one lap off the pace, we do believe, and possibly 2 or 3 as we're checking with timing and scoring right now, and this can be a real headache to score as many cars as we have racing on the track at one time. Now 57 minutes, 55 seconds into this 3-hour enduro. And Wayne Arnold has gained some ground on second place Kenny St. John. In fact, Wayne Arnold is now pulling up about a straightaway behind, so And I'm sure Kenny St. John knows exactly where his chief adversary is right now. We are now told from timing and scoring that Billy Simmons in car 771 is 1 lap down to the leader. 1 lap down to your leader as they squeeze by through the crossover. You know, I would think, Tim, that a close call like that would find your stomach up in your throat.
Well, you would think so, but as many times that I'm sure they do it here within the 3 hours, that it maybe gets to be old hat.
But if it becomes too commonplace and there's too much of a feeling of euphoria out there or security, that's when disaster can strike.
That's for sure. They surely don't want to lose their concentration, because if they did, you could definitely get a big pile up there within the intersection.
Another shot as they come through the crossover, heading for the pit entrance. And what a scramble. That is a most incredible shot. We have some tired iron out there right now.
It looks as if Kenny St. John has got a clear track. There's nobody in front of or behind him. And Wayne Arnold, who is leading the race right now, has quite a
watch St. John work his way through, and he clearly makes it through. So Kenny St. John is gaining some ground right now, because he found himself almost a lap down to Wayne Arnold. And there again, we can see where the horsepower comes into play. As Kenny comes off that turn, he can size up the competition as he heads for the crossover. That time he had to hop on the binders, slide almost to a stop before downshifting and picking his way through traffic. We have now completed 1 hour, 1/3 of the race now complete, and your leader is Wayne Arnold in car number 6. Second, once again, is Kenny St. John in car 18. Third, 1 lap down in car 771, is Bill Simmons. Fourth, in car number 1, the winner here 3 years ago, Jim Fox. And fifth, in car 54, Bob Stute. It's just incredible that timing and scoring can stay up with the top 5 in a competition like this.
It's amazing.
We have completed now 163 laps. And looking back in past years, we've completed 454 and 453 laps the last 2 years, so we still have a few laps to go. In fact, when Kenny St. John won here in 1978, he completed 454 laps, which still stands as the track record. Last year in winning, he collected 453 laps. Now 166 laps complete. Wayne Arnold finding himself out of traffic as far as the cars directly around him, but he runs through traffic in the crossover. Running down that top 5 again. 2 drivers on the lead lap now. Wayne Arnold in car number 6. Kenny St. John in car 18. They are on the lead lap. Then down 3 laps in 3rd position in car number 1 is Jim Fox. So Fox has moved to 3rd position now in that black Camaro number 1, and he gets, oh, we've got a T-bone in the intersection. Jim Tunney, who got hit earlier, gets nailed from the side. He hits someone else in front, and we'll see if we can't pick that up.
It looks
and have
like
one more look at that.
He's unbuckling it, fixing to get out of the car.
And he takes a towel out from under the seatbelt, wipes the brow so we can see that Jim is okay, and we'll check back with that slow motion replay once again to see what exactly happened as they worked through the crossover. Watch for car 73 coming from the left of your picture. No, he comes from the right, and he stops right in the middle, has no place to go. He gets hit from the back. He hits someone else in front, and incredibly, all the drivers are okay. Chuck Hargraves involved in car number 8. Chuck is okay, and the car continues on. And because Jim Tunney is okay, and the car is not in a precarious position on the race course, the race continues. I can see some debris right in the middle of the crossover.
It looks, Gary, like it might be a bumper laying out there.
Now that, of course, is a hazard because it could slice a tire as they negotiate the crossover. And like I said earlier, this has to be the busiest intersection in the world.
Without a doubt. It seems like all the drivers going through the intersection are avoiding whatever that is laying out there. At least most of them are.
Of course, in a tight traffic jam situation, some driver may have no recourse but to drive over it. But Wayne Arnold continues to lead, and he has a half-lap lead now over Kenny St. John. We have now completed 173 circuits, and we've gone just over 1 hour and 4 minutes, almost 1 hour and 5 minutes now. I would think after a race like this, Tim, it would take a good back rub, for some of these drivers a 6-pack, if not more, and a good night's sleep.
I would say maybe 2 nights sleep, 2 6-packs and 2 back rubs maybe.
The stamina is just incredible. We mentioned the concentration, but there goes the bumper, and went right over the top of your leader. That bumper was struck in the crossover. It went flying through the air and went above your leader, Wayne Arnold. And back on the track now is Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons is out of the pit area in car 771, so he was in for a few laps for some service. We were talking about concentration, but the physical stamina of the driver is so important in a contest like this, because he is actually wrestling that 3,600 pound hunk of sheet metal for 3 hours.
It's got to be amazing. I mean, these drivers have to be getting tired at about this point, and we're only 1 hour and 5 minutes into the race. We have another 1 hour and 55 minutes to go, so I tell you, they've got to be in definitely good shape to be able to complete the 3 hours, especially with, we've only had 2 red flags for probably a total of 15 minutes, so they haven't had time to have much rest, so they've got to be in top physical condition.
And with the number of laps that we have turned in for 1 hour, it looks like we're working on a record pace right now. 178 laps complete. We have gone now 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 33 seconds. And again, for those of you that have just tuned in, this is the National 3-Hour Enduro Figure 8 Championships from the Indianapolis Speedrome, the capital of auto racing. And we started the fastest 24, but as one drops out or pulls into the pit area for mechanical repairs or perhaps a spare tire, another one is sent in. So we could have, I've not counted how many cars we have on the racing course right now, but we could have as many as 30 or 35 out there at one time. We'll get a count quickly to see how many cars we do have in competition. Wayne Arnold continues to dominate, driving a 1968 Camaro, and there are those that collect Camaros that would like to see that one in mint condition on the street and not out here on a figure 8 racetrack.
Well, I think that one's a little beyond
restoration.
Exactly.
Wayne Arnold in car number 6 through the crossover one more time, working now on lap 178. Kenny St. John continues to ride in second position. We lost a couple of laps. We're up to lap 183 now. We're working lap 183. We actually have 22 cars on the track, so apparently something has happened back in the pit area that we lost at least 2 cars someplace, and I see no one at the pit exit right now, so apparently no one else is ready to come out and join the fray.
I don't blame him. Here we've got one just came out of the pits. I can't see the number. I believe it's 49.
And now we have 2 more cars on the track. Here's car number 20 about to make an appearance. So now we're back to a full complement of 24 cars on the track, Tim.
Car 20 looks like it's Bill Horn from Indianapolis.
Now we see that Bill Tunney has just pulled out in car 57. So adding 3 cars, that would put us at 25 cars. So we have more than our complement of 24. Car 80 has just pulled back into the pit area. And out of the race for a moment anyway, Chuck Cloud from here in Indianapolis driving car number 80. He had the 36th fastest qualifying time, and now we have looks like a square dance right down below us here. And look at this traffic jam we have down here in turn 3. Now second place Kenny St. John goes through. There's the shot from our pit area camera. One of the drivers about to lose a trunk, and that could be dangerous, very dangerous, if that thing should fly off.
That thing was falling off a little bit earlier, and somehow up there it goes back onto the car to where it might be on there for a little bit longer.
Car number 51, the car involved with the loose trunk lid. That is Gary Haskett from Carmel, Indiana. So Gary, if he has a mirror in that car, is aware that he has a problem.
And right below us here is Bill Frazier from Indianapolis. Looks like he's had some problem. The engine in the car is smoking, and he's just sitting there. So it don't look like he'll be in any action for a while.
Your leader continues to be car number 6.
There's the trunk lid that you can see on your television. I don't know, I've been watching that for quite a while, Gary. I don't know how much longer that thing can hang on there. She's got a strong hinge.
Somebody might tapping and cross over and knock it free.
Hopefully it won't knock it into another car.
I've noticed that some of these cars do not have the safety netting on the driver's side. And I don't know that that would actually keep a trunk lid out.
It might keep an arm inside in case the car did happen to get upside down. And it's interesting that our first and second place cars they're timing on the track right now that they're meeting each other right about the intersection. As you can see right here, right there, your second place man, Kenny St. John, just went through the intersection along with Wayne Arnold the opposite way.
I will watch for him to come through this time.
And
Kenny at number 18, and this time Kenny picked up some ground that time because the last time through he was behind Wayne Arnold. This time he's in front of Wayne Arnold. And let's see what happens this time. This time he's behind him again, so that time he lost some ground. So just about a half lap is the difference between first and second. George Sutton back on the race course in car number 17, that green Camaro. Your favorite color, Tim.
Yeah, got that right. And the man with the trunk problem, whoever that was, he seemed to go out and he's back in the pits now. I think he got black flagged, and hopefully they're going to be able to take it off and put him back in the race.
We have now completed 193 circuits. We have gone 1 hour, 12 minutes into this 3-hour national enduro. And again, we have only periodic reds. Going into the race, the only time that the drivers would actually have a chance to stop would be during the red light situation, and that would be prompted again by a hazard on the race course in a position such as a turn being blocked, or the crossover being blocked. We do have at least 3 cars right now stalled at various points on the race course, but they're not providing a hazard. So consequently, the yellow can come out to signify that we do have a problem, but yet the racing continues. Another shot of the cars as they come through the crossover directly toward that pit entrance. Bill Frazier getting a push in car number 5, and he moves safely out of the way. He was pushed by Chuck Cloud in car number 80. So we've seen several displays of sportsmanship this evening, as one driver will help out another by pushing that car out of the way, and that way we continue on with some safe racing and a safe, clean racetrack.
And Gary, the way it looks now is Kenny St. John, the number 18, who's running in second place, is getting through the crossover a lot earlier than our leader at the moment, Wayne Arnold. So it looks as if Kenny St. John is either making a move or having a stroke of good luck right now, and he's catching the leader.
Now, the traffic is
Wayne
working
Arnold.
for Kenny St. John right now, and he is able to make it through that crossover. He is gaining ground. He's now less than a half lap behind. Chuck Cloud continues to smoke in car number 80. I would think not only would stamina and concentration be a problem, but the fumes out there for 3 hours.
Well, you're constantly behind somebody or in front of somebody, and being this short a racetrack, the fumes don't have a chance without the wind blowing it like it is tonight to really blow it out of the arena, as we would call it, maybe. And they aren't wearing any gas mask or anything like that, so it could be a factor.
Chuck Cloud has moved into the pit area at car number 80. We complete 200 circuits, 200 laps now down, working on 201, as we have now gone 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 43 seconds. And your leader is now in heavy traffic. Car number 6, Wayne Arnold, continues to lead, but he is in heavy traffic, and closing in, reeling him in, is Kenny St. John in car number 18.
And right there on our screen, you can see Gary Haskett from Carmel, Indiana, the man that had the trunk problem, has come out of the pits and has had it taken off, and he's back out in competition.
He can autograph that for some fan as a souvenir after the race. That's Gary in car number 51X. It's an old Pontiac.
Looks like maybe a GTO or
Le Mans.
Le Mans or something like that. And surely not
Perhaps
a heavy Chevy.
an old goat.
Could be.
There's a good picture of Gary Haskett in car 51X, minus the trunk.
Lid.
Well, there's not much left of the trunk either.
No.
And the leaders are not changing tires, so one would think the tires would get worn just a bit.
Especially the longer the race goes, Gary, I'm sure the more these cars will be dropping a little bit of oil and things like that. And there you see on your screen Kenny St. John in the 18T car.
And he
right
is
there,
beginning to close in on Wayne Arnold. They have one car between those two, and look at this heavy congestion coming off that second turn. Cecil Carr has planted himself right at the crossover.
And it doesn't look like he's wanting to move too awfully bad.
Somebody may move him. But right now, look at this. Kenny St. John is right up behind your leader, Wayne Arnold. So your leaders are nose to tail on the racetrack, working on lap 206, or 1 hour, 16 minutes, 37 seconds into the 3-hour figure 8 enduro. Third now is car number 1, Jim Fox, and he is 4 laps down, which is not very much, and Cecil Carr is getting a push as Cecil drops it down in first gear, finds the fire, and he is underway. So a bit of sportsmanship once again, and we have Cecil Carr back in the competition. Well, right now we are working on a record time as far as laps completed. We've gone 207 circuits now in 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 21 seconds. And that battle for the lead continues. Your leaders are 6 inches apart at some points on the race course. And there they are right now, working off that 4th turn and heading for the crossover one more time. Now let's see if Kenny St. John really wants the lead. He's in a position now to challenge for that number 1 position, but does he want it?
Well, we'll find out here in a minute. He sure drove hard enough to get back up after he was almost a half a lap down.
And 3rd place Jim Fox takes a spin as he heads for the crossover. Had to lock up the brakes to avoid hitting another car. Now perhaps Kenny will wait for the leaders to pull up behind these slower cars and use the traffic as a buffer to get by Wayne Arnold. And these two guys have battled all season long like this. This competition right now is so indicative as to how the season went here at Speedrome. Two of the local hot shoes.
And it looks like Billy Sims in the 771 car is trying to unlap himself. He's already got by Kenny St. John, and now he's trying to get by Wayne Arnold in the number 6 car. And he's doing it going into 3. So as it looks, Billy Simmons in the 771 has unlapped himself and is back on the same lap with the leaders.
That is a very clean race car, both inside and out, as we would say, very sanitary. And of course, when you go racing, Tim, you look for a sanitary car, because a car that is well kept inside and outside will be well kept under the hood.
That's true. If a car has grease hanging all over it, dripping off of it, you can almost bet that whoever's put that car together has maybe missed something somewhere along the line, or hadn't had time to really get her cleaned up.
We talk so often about communications between the driver and the pit crew, and in some of your major racing events, there are radio hookups now between the driver and the crew. In a race like this, communications is so important, because a driver cannot tell the crew exactly what he needs until the red flag, and then there must be that proper communication so the driver can convey exactly how the car is handling, what needs to be done, and the crew can do it immediately. One of the many altercations this evening coming up on slow motion replay. It happened over in turn 1 as two cars get together. A do-si-do and square dancing, and they both are separated now, and they continue on their way. So some bent sheet metal, but none the worse for wear. Here now is the top 6 at the 210 lap mark, 4 laps back, and we can run down the top few. Wayne Arnold and Kenny St. John running right together on the racetrack after completing 210 circuits. Jim Fox was 3rd. He was 9 circuits down. In 4th, Bob Stute at 10 laps down. 5th was Dave Miller, 11 laps down. And then Chuck Hall at 20 laps down. The top 6 after 210 laps, that was 6 laps back. That top 6 has not changed since then.
I guess Billy Simmons took a trip to the pits and I didn't see it.
Yeah, he was in the pits for some repair work, but right now he's one of the fastest car driver combinations on the course. And of course, even a car being 20 laps down, or perhaps he's 25 laps down, the complexion of this type of race can change so quickly. Wayne Arnold being pushed all the way to the wall, and we have a new leader. Because of that maneuver, we have a new leader. Kenny St. John is back out in front in car number 18, the M&M Automotive Camaro, that black and yellow car. And that was simply a case of working through traffic. Wayne Arnold got very high working into turn 3. Kenny St. John stayed low and took the lead. So now it'll be Wayne Arnold pursuing Kenny St. John. 3rd in car number 1, 9 laps down, is Jim Fox. And there is Chuck Hall in car number 5. Chuck is now running 6th on the track, and he is now 21 laps down, as he was just lapped by the leader, and now he unlaps himself as the leader takes an excursion through the tulips out there, trying to avoid a confrontation at the crossover. And because of that side trip, the Milam's Camaro number 6, driven by Wayne Arnold, is back out in front, but Wayne is trapped behind a slower car, and it looks like your new leader now, car number 18, Kenny St. John. So St. John goes by Jim Fox, who is riding in 3rd position. Fox now falling to 10 laps off the lead. And Kenny St. John is back out in front. Jim Fox is right behind, 10 laps down. And then in 2nd position, car number 6, Wayne Arnold. So Kenny St. John, the 35-year-old driving veteran from here in the capital of Indiana, is showing his tail to the field right now. We have completed 222 circuits. 1 hour, 23 minutes, 11 seconds into the race. Now we have been told by scoring after retabulating the laps, Jim Fox now in third position is only 4 or 5 laps down. So they tabulate that once again, and we'll have that momentarily as Kenny St. John continues to dominate now, and directly behind him is car number 6, Wayne Arnold. And those two have shared the lead back and forth for the last 100 to 125 laps. And they will very quickly move into heavy traffic as they work by slower cars. And Tim, on this particular race configuration, there is no move over flag.
No, there's not. Wayne Arnold just took the lead back from Kenny St. John. So if you're a lap car, you just stay where you're at, and it's up to the leaders to find your way around them.
Right now we have 19 cars running on the circuit, and so we could have 5 more cars join the fray from the pit area, but right now no one is showing the incentive to make the way from the pit to the track. Car 62 beginning to smoke just a bit. Marion Hester from here in Indianapolis in the red and white 62 smoking. His wife Glenda is a regular out here, and they both share the driving chores in car 62. We're coming up now on 100 laps since our last red flag. That came on lap 132. We have now completed lap 227 and approaching 1 hour and 26 minutes into the race.
Looks like Kenny St. John just got rear-ended a little bit by Jim Fox in the number 1 car. Looks like he might be heading to the pits.
And also he has lost some ground on the leader as Wayne Arnold now pulls out to some 10 to 12 car lengths, but now Kenny St. John gets out of trouble and guns him down. The third place car of Jim Fox is in the pit area now for repairs. And the action came to almost a halt as we get 2 cars together over there in turn 4, car number 11, car number 14. Gary Gross in car number 11X backs away, trying to free himself from Ben Benedict, and the 2 cars are free and they're underway again. So that's what happens in figure 8 racing. Slam some door handles, back them away, and try it again, and 2 cars get together. Chuck Hall in car number 5. It's nailed in the crossover. Chuck Hall and his Camaro continues on, however, trying to catch the number on the other car involved in that fracas. Number very difficult to read. And right now, Kenny St. John is a straightaway behind Wayne Arnold, and the third place car is in the pit area. We have now completed, Tim, 100 laps since our last red, and we have a car that is parked almost in the crossover. He now negotiates that intersection and continues on his way.
I think that was Mark Carey from Beloit, Illinois. And Mark looks like he's having a lot of fun out there. It looks like the car that he's got is about a 69 Chevelle with apparently just street tires on it. It looks like he might have driven it to the racetrack here, and he's just all over the place out there and having a good time. So we see Kenny St. John and Wayne Arnold is just going by in there.
Kenny St. John has taken the lead. Kenny St. John is back in the lead. Jim Fox, who was riding in third position in car number 1, made a side trip to the pit area, and he now is getting a new radiator, so an overheating problem forcing Jim Fox to the pit area. Right now your leader continues to be car number 18, a 2-time champion of this event, Kenny St. John. Wayne Arnold is second, and those two have shared the lead and flip-flopped the lead back and forth for about 150 circuits. Now about 235 laps complete. We have gone 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 11 seconds.
And it seems as if Kenny St. John is lengthening his lead over a little bit on Wayne Arnold. He's about now 25 to 30 car lengths in front of Wayne Arnold, the number 6 car.
Well, after being in 3rd position, some 4 or 5 laps off the pace, we understand that repairs continue in the pit area on car number 1, driven by Jim Fox. Let's check in with Dick and see what's happening down there.
Okay, Gary and Tim, I just talked to Jim Fox's pit crew, car number 1. He has a broken radiator and a broken header pipe. Now, they're working on it really, really hard, and they expect to get him back on the racing surface in just a matter of minutes. But once again, he has a broken radiator and a broken header pipe. They're working on it really hard, and I look forward to seeing Jim Fox back on the racing surface in a matter of minutes. Now back to Gary and Tim in the booth.
And the race continues as Kenny St. John is your leader in car number 18. And now almost a half lap back in second is Wayne Arnold. Kenny driving a newer Camaro. In fact, he's in a 76 Camaro. Wayne Arnold driving a 68 vintage Camaro. Third place now is Bob Student in car 54, and Bob is several laps off the pace. We'll try to check that with scoring. But car 54, that is a white Camaro, is running now in 3rd position. And Tim, the problem from our vantage point here in the press box is that some of these cars are so well battered, it is difficult to tell just what make they are.
Well, as you get a little farther along in the race, Gary, some of the cars that didn't make the 24-car starting field are now starting to come back out as a result of cars that are breaking and falling back out in the pits. So it looks like we might have 30 cars out here right now, and you're seeing cars that weren't fast enough to make the field that are out here right now.
And right now we have completed 1/2 the race. 1/2 the race in 242 laps, which would give us, what, 484 laps for the full 3 hours, which would be a new track record. So the pace right now is quicker than I think most of these drivers had anticipated. A car up against the wall. Car number 93 is up against the wall. Bruce McFall from Elwood, Indiana. And I don't know if Bruce headed for the pit entrance and missed. We are told from the pit area that he was shooting for the pit entrance and simply missed and hit the wall.
Well, he's going to get another shot out of here, Gary, it looks like. So maybe, hopefully, he'll make it this time.
Well, he backs out of what had been a very precarious situation there. There's no place to park your car as they come across that intersection and head for turn 3 at doing maybe 50 or 55 miles per hour, and you've got a car parked down there.
A situation I'd like to be in.
Poor Jim Tunney, who had been running so well early and really got smashed around in that crossover, is still down here in car 73. And of course, the best thing to do in this type of situation is to remain with the car, because that car provides a lot of tubing and a lot of sheet metal as protection. So Jim Tunney will stay with his car until the race is red flagged again. Actually, by all standards and by comparisons to previous 3-hour enduros, this has been a very cleanly driven race. We've had some bumping and banging, as we always do, but for the most part, through the intersection, a very clean competition.
Well, Gary, I think here in the next few minutes, I think you might see it be a little different. I think they're starting to get a little bit more raver going through that intersection, and you might see some equipment starting to get be bent up here in just a little short in a while.
Bob Stute is now running in 3rd position in car 54. 25 cars on the surface right now. Bob is from Dearborn Heights, Michigan, at the age of 32. He's driving a 1969 Camaro. And what a track record this guy has put together. He is the Toledo track champion 1971, 72, 73, and 74. Won the Flat Rock Championship in 78. And finished 3rd in the 1978 National Championship Figure 8 here at the Speedrome. veteran driving car 54, Bob Stute, out of Dearborn Heights, Michigan, and he's riding in 3rd position right now. So Kenny St. John continues to lead, and we're looking for the 2nd place car right now of Wayne Arnold. Wayne is almost 3/4 of a lap back, but right now Kenny St. John finds himself in heavy traffic.
And Gary, it looks as if Chuck Hall from Toledo has left the racing service, and I think the word from the pit is that he won't be returning here in the very short future.
Kenny St. John is beginning to pick up some ground on Wayne Arnold. You know, at this type of racing, there's really no place for the slower cars to go on a big racing surface like the Speedway, like Ontario, Pocono. The drivers can be flashed the Volfer flag. They can move to the inside, the outside. There's a lot of racing room. But out here, it's a very tight track, very tight turns, and a very narrow track. So these drivers that are running in the top 5 are working their way through traffic virtually every inch of the racetrack.
That's for sure.
There is your leader, Kenny St. John in car number 18, showing that big spoiler on the rear end, which is doing virtually nothing but providing advertising space for a sponsor this evening, which major importance. Wayne Arnold riding in 2nd right now, but Wayne is losing some ground on Kenny St. John, as Kenny has more than a half lap lead right now as they work into a T-bone crash right in the intersection. We have 2 cars, 3 cars involved, and we're looking for a red flag. The red flag is out.
And
the red flag is out. We've got 2 more cars involved. So right now we have a used car lot in the intersection. Car number 18, we see car number 18 involved. We're trying to get the drivers' names. All right, let's take a look now at exactly what happens in slow motion when we have a used car lot at the crossover. Now, if we just had some nice dance music, there's the first T-bone. And the 3rd car comes in and no place to go.
We've got 4 now.
Jerry McCluskey, the 1 car involved. McCluskey in car number 18. The safety crew is there making sure that the drivers are okay. And there's some heavy damage to McCluskey's number 18, so the crew is there, the ambulance is there. And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. The PTS professional track safety crew is there. These guys are pros. They work major races all over the country. And right now the work continues to make sure that McCluskey is okay. He is the driver that was T-boned in car number 18. Mark Carey was in car number 91, and Gary Gross in car 11X. Gary Gross was the car that T-boned Jerry McCluskey, and McCluskey is out of the car, and we're waiting for the official word. We never like to say the drivers are okay until we hear it officially from the track safety crew, but we talked about that earlier in the program, Tim Richmond, as to what can happen when the cars are running 50 or 55 through the intersection. We want to take one more look. Right now they're working with Gary Gross. You see McCluskey coming into your picture. He is hit in the rear, no place to go for Gross. The T-bone, and then coming into the picture is Mark Carey driving car 91. He gets on the brakes. He too has no place to go and slides into the rear of Gary Gross. So a chain reaction accident. It was just a case of Jerry McCluskey getting hit in the rear end. He had stopped for the intersection. The car behind him had no place to go, and there you can see the activity as it continues. They're working with Gary Gross in car number 11. We're waiting for official word right now. It would appear that McCluskey is okay. The BTS track crew is there. The ambulance is standing by. We have now completed 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 23 seconds. 1:35.23, 254 laps complete, and Wayne Arnold is running second, almost 3/4 of a lap behind car number 18, Kenny St. John. And right now, I'm sure this is the red flag that the leaders were waiting for, because this gives them a chance. Never do they want someone injured or a bad crash, but a red that they can get out of the car perhaps. They can take some nourishment, something to drink, refresh themselves, and get that second breath.
That's right, Gary. And what will happen now is when they come back out on the track, it will give Wayne Arnold, who was running in second and losing a lot of ground to Kenny St. John in the #1 position, that'll give them a chance to close it back up and go back to racing, and maybe you'll see Wayne Arnold maybe come back to Kenny St. John.
Well, as the work continues on the track, we'll take a break and be back for the restart after this.